Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll call this open council meeting of June 19th to order. Under presentations, we have none this evening. Could I have a motion, please, to adopt the agenda as presented? Oh, as amended, yes. I'm sorry, we have a block party to put in there. As amended, thank you. Councillor Broba, seconded. Councillor Hoffert, any questions? If not, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, now could we have a motion, please, for the minutes of the council meeting held on May 29th? Okay, thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor, and I won't say Travis. Councillor Frank, any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have from the Provincial Council of Women requesting support for a women's shelter. I'll just quickly go over it. Violence against women has become a major societal problem, and by Saskatchewan's police records, Saskatchewan leads the way with 2,681 cases per 100,000 population. According to Stats Canada, from April 1st, 2013 to March 31st, 2014, only 717 out of 100,000 Saskatchewan women found refuge. It has been brought to the attention of the Provincial Council of Women that neither Weyburn nor Estevan has a safe shelter for women who are escaping partner abuse. These victims and their children must be driven to Regina, 200 kilometers distant, and housed in hotels. The provincial bill, introduced by the opposition and amended by the Minister of Justice, along with the provision of $6.6 million in cooperation with Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development Canada, suggests that it is an opportune time for cities bereft of service to organize the establishment of a safe haven for partner abuse victims. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has listed safe havens for partner abuse victims as an aim. Council is requesting the provincial and federal governments to assist communities in establishing safe havens for women and children of partner abuse. There had been a small group of Estevan citizens interested in forming a committee to pursue the establishment of a safe haven, but housing prices due to the booming oil industry seem to be out of reach. With the downturn in the industry and the drop in housing prices, perhaps it is again time to attack the problem. Provincial Council has offered to assist in the advocacy and lobbying governments for their support. We feel the time is ripe to begin to seek support for the women in southeastern Saskatchewan. Please add your support, leadership, and assistance. So I personally agree, and I'd like to hear from Council that we probably do need a safe house so women don't have to travel all the way to Regina to reach safety. I talked to the police chief, and he totally agreed. He said many times they're transporting a wife or a woman and her children all the way to Regina in the middle of the night and housing them in some hotel. So, you know, I'd like to hear from Council. Of course, we'll need provincial and federal, and I see our MLA, we're going to be talking to her later tonight. Lori, I know she'll get behind and support this, but also federally, we'll have to get their support before something like this could come to fruition. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Worship. First of all, having read this, the report, is very embarrassing for us men, I would think, totally across the board. Besides that, the numbers are getting larger rather than smaller. And I'm surprised that we haven't done something before now. And the other thing that I was wondering is, why can't we tie that in with something we already have going, in rather than having a whole new department? There'd be some reason why it wouldn't fit in with some other program that must be out there. Totally on side, but at the same time, embarrassing to talk about it. It's something that shouldn't go on. and there's got to be a stop to it. I realize there's a lot of pressures out there, but there's always been a lot of pressures out there. So I, for one, think it's just a damn shame that we can't nip it in the heels and at least slow it back. So that would be my feeling on it, that we totally have to support it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Moore. We do have Envision Services, of course, that help us out in the community, and they also help through the police with people, but definitely that would be the next step to actually have a shelter. Councillor Vroba, I think you had your hand
Thank
up.
you, Your Worship.
Yeah.
I was also thinking the Estevan Family Center would also be another organization that we could maybe turn to find out what they feel the need is in our community. And I just have a question of why we would transport people from Estevan to Regina to go stay in a hotel when we have hotels in Estevan. If they're just going to Regina for a safe haven in a hotel, we could start them here in a hotel. And
Yeah,
then,
unfortunately, Councillor Vroba, what's happened in the past, and not all the time, but there have been cases where the husband has followed where they went and kicked the door into the hotel, so I mean, it's not safe.
so yeah, I guess that would be my question, because I'm not really, I mean, I totally 100% support
Yeah.
it. My thought process is in a small city like this, if we got a house, how long would it take before someone realizes that's the house and that becomes the issue that happens? So I'd be interested in hearing more about this program and how we could support it.
Yeah.
So that things like that don't happen.
Absolutely. I think we'd have to get the stakeholders involved, get the province involved, get the feds involved, and move forward with, being informed. Absolutely.
thank you.
Councillor Hopper?
Yeah, just to agree with what's already been said by Councillor Roba and Moore, that is certainly something we support, and we should find some more information, just what can we do to support? If they want a letter of support, financial support, what are the avenues of support that they're looking for?
Yeah. Excellent. So I guess maybe this evening, if we could just have a motion for support and the fact that we will contact the stakeholders along with the province and the federal government and see what we can do to start the ball rolling.
I will make that motion. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. And Councillor Hofford, second. Any further questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have from the Southeast Transportation Planning Committee of May 23rd, their meeting report. Could we have a motion, please, to accept this report? Councillor Moore, second it. Thank you. Councillor Yanish, any questions on this? All in favor? And Councillor Moore, did you want to add anything to it?
Having been up number 9 yesterday, north of Carlisle, they are recapping the highway, and it's long past due, but I tell you what, it's going to be really, really nice when it's finished. Having said that, the park looks like it's been eaten up by the worms again, and of course they're trying to do everything they can to slow it down, but it's quite devastating to see what can happen in a short period of time. So that's all the news I have in that part of the province, but good for us. We're getting that road capped off, and it was long past due, but I guess 25 years comes up, it's our turn, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Good point. Any further questions of Councillor Moore, who is the chairman on there? If not, all in favor of the report? Thank you. Next, we have under original communications, delegations, and petitions, Reagan's CART report for May 2017. Could we have a motion, please, to accept that report as presented? Councillor Hofford, seconded by Councillor Yanish. Any questions on that report? Councillor Hofford?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Not necessarily on this report, but in general, just wondering what the numbers have shown since we've been at this for about 5 years now. Since we've started recycling, what have the numbers done in the past few years? Has the garbage gone down and the recycling up, or is there any way we can run some of those numbers just to see how effective the recycling program has been?
Absolutely, we can get those numbers.
Thank you.
If you like, we'll make that request and we'll have them numbers for the next meeting. Any further questions? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor.
I'll gladly get those numbers and run them for you, but just in my role there, I can assure you that we've seen recycling go up consistently every year. The amount of material we bring in for recycling through our program grows up year over year, which is great. The trash numbers I actually don't know offhand, but I could definitely find out if they've gone down. It's good to find out. So.
Yeah, that's a good point, because we thought going in that once people get the mindset of recycling, that the garbage would actually go down considerably, and that we could maybe even go to 1 week recycling and then 2 weeks garbage, but I don't,
We actually just had two towns go to biweekly trash. It's two smaller towns, but
Yeah.
they have in the area gone to biweekly trash at Regan. So
good,
it
good,
is
well,
very-
that's
very
good news,
possible
because
that could be
that
the
is a
move
good,
that's
the
facing
right,
moving forward.
yeah,
Definitely. So
super. Okay, thank you, Councillor Frank. Councillor Prova?
Is it a cost saving for picking up the recycling versus picking up the garbage?
It's about the same,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, no problem. Okay, if there's no more questions, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Next, we have the addition to the original communications, delegations, and petitions block party on Mayfair Bay, and they would like an event permit. This starts on June 24th, so we had to have it this evening. Starts at 6 p.m. They weren't aware that they needed a special occasion permit, but now they are, so they're requesting this. So if we could help them out, that would be appreciated. So do we have a motion from council to move forward on this request? Councillor Yanish, seconded by Councillor Moore. Okay, any further questions? If not, all in favor?
I was just
I'm
asking,
sorry.
is council invited?
Gee, I don't know. I haven't talked to the lady, but if you like, Councillor Broba, I could make that request. Okay. Next, under written reports of committees, we have nothing this evening. Next, under executive reports, we have the park slow pitch request on baseball fees waived. And we have Mr. Coons here along with our manager, Rod March, to give us any, answer any questions that we have. I think it would be a great idea because you guys have done awesome in making improvements to the park in the past. So would you like to come up and speak to that, or Rod, or?
Yeah, sir.
Okay.
So again, Matt is here representing Slow Pitch. If you recall, last year they put in a request for a waiver of fees, approximately $7,000. They were invoiced about $3,000. Sorry, Robert. They're requesting to do the same for 2 more years, and the reason for that is so that they can get a substantial little pot of money so that they can actually do some real work rather than just spending the $7,000 a year. So that's basically in a nutshell what it is. They have done some improvements. We've been working together a lot, getting things done down there. But the reality is, you're gonna have to rebuild those fields because they're not in a clover leaf right now. And just spending $7,000 a year in the waive fees, it's just not gonna do a lot.
Okay.
So that's the request.
Well, thank you so much for that, Rod, and thank you, Matt, for the work that you and your group have done. Huge improvements and much appreciated. So have we got questions or comments from council? Councillor Hoffer?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and Rod and Matt. Just curious, what improvements do you plan to make this year specifically? Field improvements can be a variety of things, but what all has to be done? The fences, the backstops, the everything, or what do you intend to tackle this year?
This year, not a lot again, because they're trying to accumulate enough dollars to actually do a decent project. And Matt can probably speak better on it, but from what I understand from our conversations is that within 3 years, they'll have about 21,000 in a reserve, which they can start one field at a time to actually rebuild them the way they should be. And it's not as simple as, sharing with the other associations, because we do have 20 ball diamonds in the city. It's just the distance, and it doesn't work in terms of the pitch that they have. So there's about 30 teams, I believe, isn't it, Matt?
27 this year.
27 playing there now, 17 playing there. Then we also have, of course, softball that plays down there. So that's all coordinated events too. So we're all working together to try to make it a nice little
So you're
facility.
going to slope the fields with some drainage, or
That's
put in
the-
shale, or when you do get to it in year 3 or whenever, is that the kind of thing you're going to be looking at doing, or?
I would think long term that, yeah, that's what we'd look to have happen is, if you look to the other side of the hill, what's happened on the other side with what the kids are, ideally, that would be great.
Okay.
To happen on that side of the hill, only with our proper dimensions. I mean, we currently have 27 teams in the league playing this year. We had over 30 that were interested. It's just trying to find cost ability to make sure that it was functional to have that many teams to be eventually with the shortage of places for us to play. You run that you pay too much, and then teams don't get to play enough, and it just becomes not cost worthy to bother putting in a team. We are currently playing in 3 locations. We're playing at Cactus. We are using Cassette from the Woodlawn, and we are traveling to Beanfate and have been for the last 5 seasons. And actually, since we've been out of Beanfate and cleaned up a lot of that area as well, that's now where their minor ball is playing. So we're actually losing more and more time out there as well.
No, it sounds like a great idea, and a lot of credit goes to your association. It's always nice when a group of civic-minded folks step up to make their community better, and it sounds like that's what's happening here. And so I fully endorse the report and recommendation of Rod March, and if we need a resolution, I'd be happy to make it, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hopper. We have the first, thank you. Councillor Frank, any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Okay, thank you so much for coming today, John. Appreciate it. Okay, next, under executive reports, we have the Land Development Building Permit Report for May 2017. Could I have a motion, please, to accept that report as presented? Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Vroba. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under executive reports, we have Land Development Proposed Renaming Woodlawn Avenue, LDR 10, 2017, and we'll give that first reading this evening. But it's under here, we'd like just a motion to accept that under the executive reports, and then we'll move into the first reading later. Thank you, Councillor Hoffert, seconded by Councillor Yanish. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And next, under introduction of bylaws, we will have bylaw 2017-1987 to change the street name Collins Road, first reading. Then we'll publicly advertise and give it second and third readings at the next meeting. So basically, we're looking at Woodlawn Ave, changing that. As everyone I'm sure is aware, Mr. Collins was councillor, he was mayor, he was an educator, he's done many things in our community, and it was thought that at this time, I know he's been on the waiting list quite a while, as quite a few people have, but with not a lot of development happening, Councillor Hoffert brought it forward that perhaps we could use a street that doesn't have any addresses on it, such as Woodlawn Ave, and Council, of course, agreed, and that's where we'll be moving through that process. So if I could have, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a
Yep.
question. It was Woodlawn Avenue, now it's going to be Collins Road. Why would, I thought it was Collins Avenue, just Collins Road.
Is that what you, what was the motion made for? I thought it was Collins Road, I think.
Was it Collins Road? Yeah, I just had a question of why I went Avenue to Road, that's all.
Councillor Veroba, to Your Worship. I had actually land development check and see what would be the proper, and he's the one that deemed it road instead of avenue.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that, City Clerk. Okay, if there's no more questions, could we have a motion, please, for first reading? Okay, thank you. Councillor Yanish, seconded by Councillor Vroba. Any further questions? I guess, go ahead.
Thank you,
Councillor
Worship. I just wonder if we shouldn't have extended that to Bernie Collins Road. And the reason I say that is at one time we were going to say Roddy Road past the hospital, and we decided to put Sister in front, and I think that finishes it off. And same with Collins. I think because Bernie is so well known in the area, it would be added if we put Bernie Collins Road rather than just Collins Road. I think there'd be no doubt who we're talking about. And just in my view, I think it would just finish the statement off.
Okay. Well, we can give that some thought. I think the blades are
Oh, it's done. Okay.
made up, but.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll just pencil it in.
Okay, just Councillor Vroba, then Councillor Frank. Did you have your hand up, Councillor Vroba?
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. No, I was just going to say that I felt like in going with the theme of the rest of the city, you know, you have the Bearbash Bay, Tedford Way, Collins Road. None of the other ones have the first names on, so that's why I thought we picked Collins Road, but I can see your point, but.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Councillor Frank?
Actually, the same as Shelley there. I was
Okay.
just thinking, just for consistency.
Okay, okay, thank you. So all in favor? Carried, thank you. Next, under public hearings and reports, we have none this evening. Giving notice, we have nothing this evening. Motions from committee, we have none. Consideration of bylaws, we have none. Inquiries, Councillor Hoffer.
I have none, Your Worship. I've likely talked enough already tonight.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Councillor Hoffer. Councillor Groba?
Thank you, Your Worship. I actually did have one inquiry regarding streetlights at Devonian and Kensington. They've had quite a few accidents at that intersection, and I myself have noticed that a lot of times truck traffic that are going east or west have a hard time getting onto that road, especially at peak times. And I was just wondering if in the past years, consideration has ever been given to a set of streetlights at that intersection.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Groba. Actually, when we had the traffic study done a few years ago, that was pointed out as moving forward at some point in our future that we would have to put traffic lights at that intersection. Because I know Mr. Smith, when he was on council, he said it would take 15 minutes to half an hour to get onto Kensington at noon. So, you know, when we were really booming, and now that's faded a bit, but definitely it.
Yeah, I think whether we're booming or not, though, that intersection is such a peak oil-filled intersection that it is tough going. I think if there was a set of lights there, it would also let the other traffic trying to get out of lots down further down Kensington have the ability to get out while the traffic stopped. It might
Okay.
actually free up a lot of that too. But
Okay.
is there a way then that we could put that in for
Yes,
some consideration?
absolutely. Through the good graces of the city manager, we can start by putting that through engineering. And then they can come back, give us a memo, and then if council agrees with their suggestions, we'll move it to budget. Okay, thank you. Councillor Yanish, and congratulations on your daughter graduating.
Yeah, thanks. I'd just like to congratulate the grads of 2017 in Estevan for completing their education and furthering their career in whether it's school or even being citizens of Estevan working in the community.
Absolutely, thank you for that. And I guess so the camera doesn't have to run over our city treasurer. Trudy, did you have anything to say this evening? I don't want to miss you. Okay? Okay, Councillor Frank?
I have none this evening, none this evening, Your
Okay.
Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Frank. Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Worship. After receiving 3 phone calls in the last 2 weeks thanking the city and the city workers for work that was completed as we had planned to over the time. And the last one was the alley that we put the storm sewer in. We just finished. Got a nice phone call from folks on that street saying, thank you very much. They really are going to appreciate the next time they have a lot of water, they're not going to get basements flooded and the water will go the way it should go. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if you've got a problem out there, this afternoon a guy was thanking us for some potholes that needed to be fixed for, he claimed, a number of years. He only had to make one phone call and the names come up from City Hall that he was thanking. So I think we've come a long ways in the last few years as to paying attention to the citizens when they call. It makes it easier for them to phone us now. And I think the people need to be recognized that are making that happen. And not only is it happening, it's happening quicker than what they thought it would. So hats off to the staff and the managers and City Hall in total, because it's
Absolutely.
recognition that you feel good when you get a phone call after you've had a complaint and the job is finished. That's taken time and good energy to call us back and thank us for it. So keep the good work up.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Councillor. Appreciate that, Councillor Moore. And it starts with, of course, once the things are agreed on what to do, it starts with our city manager and down to our managers, and then from there down to the staff. And they're all doing an excellent job, and we absolutely appreciate it.
Your Worship, I was asked the other day if we're using latex or oil on our painting on the crosswalks, because sometimes it doesn't seem to be staying as long, and I couldn't answer that question.
I believe we went back, city manager, to oil. And it's cloverleaf. It's the best paint we can get, but
To Councilor Moore, yeah, we did went with the lowest tender last year, and it was different from the years before. So the areas that are wearing off would have been the ones from last year. The new stuff is the better cloverleaf stuff, and it won't be wearing off on the new. And I believe it's oil, but I will double check with you. I think there's environmental regulations there, so I can get that answer for you.
Yeah, I believe there's as much oil as we could get away with in today's environmental guidelines.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. And I too would like to thank the 2017 grads. I had the privilege to attend, and it's nice to see so many eager young people ready to move forward with their life. So it's a great milestone. So City Manager, did you have anything else to say?
Nothing to add, Your
Nothing?
Worship.
Okay, City Clerk?
Nothing except you might want to promote June 30th as our,
Yes, thank you. June 30th, we've had a committee put in place. Our city manager is on there, so we'll have him speak to that. But we've already started advertising. It'll be a fantastic day. We didn't want to take away from Bean Fete, so our festivities will be starting in the afternoon of June 30th. And City Manager, did you want to just give a brief overview?
Yes, Your Worship, I can expand on that. So on June 30th, there'll be a free event for everybody, all the citizens of Estevan and surrounding area to come. From 3 to 8, there will be the Emergency Services Showcase will be moved over to Centennial Park by the Civic Auditorium. We also have a stage act with science experiments, magician, comedy, reverse dunk tank, and that'll be running from 3 to 8. At that point, we'll move over kind of into the Affinity Place parking lot where bands Chris Henderson and Third Degree Burns will be playing from 8 to 10 and 10 to midnight. There'll be a street carnival with games and painting, and I believe we have 5 food trucks there to be set up. So it'll be a great event. It's kind of the pre-birthday to Canada Day. I believe at midnight we'll be singing Happy Birthday, and the Legion will be involved in raising a Canadian flag at that time. So hopefully everybody can come out. Should be a great event. Hopefully the weather is appropriate for it.
Absolutely. Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, City Clerk. So if there's nothing else, could we have a motion, please, to move into committee? Thank you. Councillor Yanish, seconded by Councillor Frank. All in favor? Thank you. And good evening.